good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, 23 banks operating in Ghana to lose about 6.1 billion cedis as a result of reduced coupon rate and the extension of the maturity period following the domestic debt restructuring. We have details coming up. Also coming up, interest rates continue to rise on the yield curve, but government gets 2.53 billion cedis from Treasury bills auction. And the World Bank makes guarantee payment of $372 million on behalf of Ghana for the 2030 Eurobond. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Details coming up. Do stay with us. And thanks for staying with us, everyone. Now, further analysis of the domestic debt restructuring indicate that the 23 banks operating in this country will lose about 6.1 billion as a result of reduced coupon rate and extension of the maturity period from 5 to 15 years. According to the liquidity gap analysis by Dr. Richmond Etuaine and KB Frimpong, the 23 banks would have generated positive cash flow of about 10.1 billion cedis over the period from the original coupon rate of 19.3% per annum. Now, following the implementation of the domestic debt exchange program, the extension of the maturity period and reduction of coupon rate will impact heavily on their earnings from investments in Government of Ghana bonds. Joining us on phone to discuss this is one of the authors of this report, Dr. Richmond Etuaine. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on the marketplace. So tell us a bit more about how you arrived at this figure.
Thank you very much, Doug. I mean, it's about time value of money. You know, if you're supposed to receive your money in 5 years with a return of 19.3, and it's structured over a period of 15 years with a reduced rate, if you use the NPV values, the returns are going to go down from 10.1 to about 6 point something, 4 point something. That will mean that you'll be losing about 6.1 billion in liquidity. And this is as a result, as I've explained, reducing the coupon rate from 19.3 to 9% and extending the maturity profile from 5 to 15 years. When you use the NPV values about the returns, it means there will be a drop in the returns. And that is how we calculated this by using the NPV.
And so how much will the 23 banks lose over the period of 5 years from the domestic debt exchange program? I'm seeing 6.1 billion Ghana cedis.
If there hadn't been nothing, if the debt has not been restructured, they were going to make about 10 point something billion. But as to the structured debt, then you get about 4 point something. So the difference between the 10 original and the new one gives you about 6.1 billion.
And how will these losses impact on the real sector?
In a real sense, with the setup of the financial stability, if all ceteris paribus, all things being equal, if it's set up, then I don't think there will be a rush for the liquidity that people will go and take their money. Like it happened in Jamaica. Jamaica set a similar funding, the stability by 1.2 billion. At the end of it all, it was not utilized. And it's also about information asymmetry. Because of financial illiteracy, a lot of people don't know what the bonds, the reduction of these bonds and the coupon actually is meant. But those of us doing finance and economics and accounting, when we dive into it, that is it. So all things being equal, it may not directly affect the banks per se. That is why Bank of Ghana has decided that they will set the financial stability of 15.2 billion. If things get out of hand, then they will be able to rely on the liquidity, the difference to support the system. But in real fact, it's going to affect the bank's ability to possibly give loans, extend loans, and also If you remember last week, one of the Nigerian banks said that they're going to curtail the credit. These are part of the restructuring of the debt that is going to impact on the economy.
Anything that can be done, is there anything that can be done to mitigate the impact of the losses that these banks would incur? What can be done at this stage?
As the contingency is basically what the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance are trying to set up for the stability. But apart from that, I don't think there is anything anyone can do, because there needs to be a fallback position. The fallback position is the liquidity, the fund that is being set up. If it's set up, then should there be a demand for more cash or more liquidity, or more people demanding their bonds, then the banks can fall on it to support their liquidity systems.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Richmond Etienne, a banking consultant, joining us with insights into a report which is showing that banks are going to, at least 23 banks in Ghana are going to incur losses up to 6.15 billion cedis as a result of the domestic debt exchange program. Well, let's move on to other stories for you. Interest rates continue to rise for the fourth week running as government pushes for more funds to finance its short-term liabilities. According to the latest Treasury bills auctioned by the Bank of Ghana, the rates went up across the yield curve, whilst the 91-day T-bill shot up by 0.07% to 19.96%. That of the 182-day bill increased by 0.10% to 22.57%. Now, some analysts are worried that the rising interest rates may affect the government's quest to reduce the deficit financing in 2023 and the next couple of years. This is because government will continue to pay more interest on these instruments. Joining us on Zoom is Associate Professor of Finance and Economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah. Good afternoon to you. Happy holiday. Should we be worried that interest rates keep rising after witnessing a significant drop some 2 months ago?
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers. I would say I'm not surprised at all. I mean, to see the interest rates of the treasury bills going up again, because government had, far back in November last year, giving the signal that they will still continue to borrow on the market. So what we saw, earlier on during the debt exchange was more or less a temporal, downward trend, which every market will respond as such when there is a debt restructuring. Now, what is the purpose of debt restructuring? Government intends to free up, fiscal space to more or less raise money through sacrifices of interest rate that people will give up, for the debt restructuring. And then the second, benefit of the debt restructuring is to bring, interest rate down. It's part of the economic reforms that, every country may witness once there's a heat up in the interest, rate market. So effectively, what has happened now, it's more or less quite conflicting, because government intention to bring interest rate down, and at the same time, being on the market, to borrow, will not be able to, bring the rate down. Quite conflicting anyway, because you cannot say that you want to bring interest rate down whilst you are holding up, a huge, budget, deficit, which needs to be financed from the local market. Remember, we have been frozen from going to the international market. So whatever, financing government is doing is within the local market. So I will be happy if government will, in the mid-year budget review, will be able to restructure the 2023 budget to reflect, the debt restructuring, i.e. to reduce, the budget deficit, so that the benefit of the debt restructuring for bringing interest rate down will be realized.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about this suggestion coming from you, but I also wanted to find out what will be the cost of these high rates on the economy if it keeps running?
Yeah, the difficulty in every economy is if interest rate is going up and there's liquidity is also frozen. I mean, remember, people are going to give up, their coupons when it comes to bond payment. Banks are going to do that. Institutions that have invested are going to do that. So liquidity in itself is going to be frozen. Coupled with high interest rate means that free flow of funds will be difficult. And when funds are not moving from one point to the other, it slows down the economy.
Yeah, and then, I mean, back to the issue to do with the 2023 budget, you calling for a review to align with the expected IMF program. What would that entail, and what changes do you expect to see?
Yeah, government should cut down, some expenditure. The cut down of the expenditure from the side of the interest payment, which has been realized in the DDEP, there's more to do. Government is on the market now calling for alternative debt restructuring. That means that the target that was set in the 2023 budget is not being met. And that is why government intends to free up space more. But it has to do with sacrifice. And we've been calling for government to cut down expenditure on discretionary items on the expenditure side of the national budget. And that is what I hope to see in the budget review, so that we can get, a budget that reflects, a debt restructuring.
All right, thank you so much for making us have a part of your holiday. Professor Lord Mensah, an economist, joining us on Zoom there. Well, the International Development Association of the World Bank has made a guarantee payment of $372 million on behalf of the government of Ghana for the 2030 Eurobond. This is coming after the country defaulted on its coupon payment on April 14 this year due to the debt moratorium announced on December 19th last year. There's more in this report.
The payment was done on April 20th, 2023. In 2015, the nation faced difficult market conditions. It had large financing needs, high debt levels that were maturing soon, and no access to international financial markets. The Finance Ministry then sought help from the World Bank to meet these goals and requested a policy-based guarantee in combination with a credit from the International Development Association to be able to mobilize the volume of financing needed to settle upcoming debt repayments. A policy-based guarantee was then secured. In this case, Ghana issued a $1 billion Eurobond series due in 2030. The 2030 Eurobond was backed by the International Development Association's guarantee, covering up to $400 million in both principal and interest. Since then, the government has bought back and cancelled $70 billion of the 2030 Eurobond, reducing the amount of guarantee to $372 million.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says Ghana may have to wait some 2 or more years before returning to the international capital market. According to him, the country's temporary obstruction from the international capital market is an opportunity to finally pursue earnestly our homegrown agenda. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Ofori-Atta said in the interim, Ghana would leverage local resources to generate some revenue.
You saw what happened when there was no sense of where we were going last year, and the currency took a nosedive, etc. And people were just not sure, and there was lack of confidence. Obviously, there's been some stability with these discussions going forward. The market responds to, any system that is looking at its, expenditures and revenues. And as long as we keep at it, I think the market will be positive. In terms of returning to, let's say, the international capital markets, I suspect it to take, some 2-3 years or so, if not more, for us to get back to it. In the interim, we should be able to generate local resources to do that. But I think what's also significant about the program, if you look at the Ghana Cares program, is our policy to be self-sufficient in poultry, rice, tomatoes, etc., which we began to do. So that will reduce your foreign exchange demands and actually, hopefully, also begin to export those products.
The Zambian currency jumped to become the best currency in Africa as soon as they got the program. Are you waiting with bated breath on the positives for the economy when this program is closed and the announcement is made?
I'll be very excited about the announcement being made, that's for sure. Yeah, I think really we should just be calm about it, you know, let's get into the discipline of working hard, the discipline of not relying on imports, but looking at an export-driven economy. To put an end to the importation of food, that's for sure. And just not waste the resources, you know, and our own maybe senses of entitlement, you know, should be abated some and work for what we want to consume.
Now, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana is cautioning government on the treatment of newborns under the Debt Action Program. According to the Institute, this must conform to international financial reporting standards to ensure consistency and transparency. Speaking at a Health, Work and Fun Games to mark the Institute's 60th anniversary, President Senna Dake said the Institute has issued some policy imperatives on the newborn arrangements for government's implementation.
ICA Ghana has not been on the bench in this matter. From December, when the announcements were made, ICA Ghana had a breakfast meeting. We issued a communique to government on our views and what we expect government to do. It somehow coincided with the release of budget, so we had contributions made in the budget preparation and to some of the controls and financial disciplines that had been put in the budget. We contributed, we made input in that. Beyond that, it's good to have it passed by Parliament, but it's another thing implementing. So at the level of implementation, we are encouraging our members who are accountants in all sectors and in the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana and all the other sectors to ensure that they abide by standards. So how to treat the newborns, how to treat the losses are things that are very fundamental in our financial standards, international financial standards. And so ICA Ghana has issued 4 discussion papers to direct the treatment of accounts for all accountants, auditors and finance people who have the authority or have the mandate to work with this new bond or new debt arrangements.
So from the accountant's perspective, what is your word of advice to government in this whole negotiation process?
The negotiation process, we wish government well. We want the best for Ghana. We know Ghana is a very peaceful country, and so investors should still have confidence in us, irrespective of the fact that we are having some challenges. But the most important thing for all of us, not only to government, to everybody who is interested in seeing Ghana grow, is reduce waste. Let's reduce waste. That is very important.
Now, as Muslims across the world observe Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the month of Ramadan, some dressmakers in the Techiman municipality of the Bunu region, or Bunu East region, are lamenting low patronage as customers are struggling to cope with higher prices and the rising cost of new clothing. They say the current global economic downturn, coupled with the high cost of electricity, is having a toll on their trade. Correspondent Anna Sabit has more.
The cost of living crisis continues to severely impact lives, putting financial pressure on many individuals, families and communities, and tailors and seamstresses are not left out as prices of sewing materials continue to skyrocket, thereby affecting their trade. As Muslims mark the Eid al-Fitr festivities, tailors usually make a lot of money during this period, but the situation isn't the same this year, as they say the rising cost of materials is adversely affecting their tailoring businesses. Salu Mekankan is the CEO of MKK Executive Fabrics. Our customers are complaining due to the rising cost of materials. Everything in terms of the materials we use in line of our work is being sold at higher prices this time around, and so our job is affected in diverse ways. He noted that some clients are unable to pay for their items after they have been sewn due to the high cost of materials. Some of our clients are unable to pay for their items after we are done with them due to the cost involved. Isaac Nsietabiru tells me that aside the high cost of materials, the sharp rise in electricity tariffs is also contributing to their hardships.
Hey, light today. Hey, light is today.
The cost of electricity these days is higher, and our machines are being powered by electricity, so we spend a lot in purchase of power. Yes, we have no choice but to buy, but we are appealing to them to do something about it. Abakar Omar on his part says several others who wish to have new clothes for the Eid are being forced to celebrate the Eid festivities with old clothing due to the high cost of materials in the market.
Last year, I said that she at least
the prices of goods in the country have skyrocketed. What used to be sold at 60 Ghana cedis a year ago is now times 2. So life is hard these days. There are others who are currently being forced to put on their old clothing because they can't afford new ones. They are all appealing to those in authority to come to their aid by helping stabilize the economy. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Tichima.
Now, Chief Executive of Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, Samuel Kwashi, says his company is committed to ensuring the general well-being of its human resources. To mark its 20th anniversary, Elegant Homes held a free health screening and fun activities for staff and members of the community where it operates. Here's more in this report. Homes and Construction has organized a free health screening for staff and family. The staff and participants were screened for malaria, hepatitis B and other illnesses. Chief Executive Samuel Kwashi said the company is keen on ensuring the general well-being of its workforce.
Screening. So we felt we need to have such a health screening to know the status of our workers, staff and the members, and it helps. Once in a while we need to screen ourselves to know what goes on in our body system. The company is going to follow up. We are keen on the health of our staff and their family, so the company is going to follow up and get all the medications. In fact, we are actually, for those who are negative, we are buying vaccines to vaccinate them so that at least they don't have to be positive.
Medical doctor at Elegant Homes Medical Lab, Dr. Lavia Alote-Babington, said the screening provides opportunity for early detection of diseases for early treatment.
To organize a health screening for the staff, and we decided to use this particular distance. It's just after the holiday. We are screening for malaria, we're doing blood pressure check, we're doing blood glucose check, we're doing hepatitis screening, because most of the time we have people walking around with high blood pressure, they do not even know it. And currently we are seeing a few positives for the hepatitis. We're seeing people with blood pressures very high, and the sugar, because they have eaten, it's here and there, but so far that's what we're seeing.
The health screening exercise was accompanied with games and fun activities. Well, finally for us this afternoon, Ghana's nuclear power program has been left idle nearly 60 years since independence in 1957. In 2008, Cabinet took a decision to include nuclear energy in the country's energy generation mix and pave the way for its inclusion in the National Energy Policy and Strategy. This led to the establishment of the Ghana Nuclear Power Program Organization to oversee the implementation and coordination of the nuclear power program. Over the weekend, Nuclear Power Ghana and Ghana Atomic Energy Commission held a two-day engagement at the Ho Technical University in the Volta region to share knowledge. Here's more in this report.
A major research of nuclear research in the mid-1950s showed that nuclear energy could produce electricity for commercial use. Nuclear Power Ghana and the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission held a 2-day engagement with the faculty and students of Ho Technical University to share knowledge, connect and learn opportunities in nuclear energy and to demystify the myth associated with nuclear energy. The two institutions entered into a tripartite memorandum of understanding on the 15th September 2022. The Director of Planning and Quality Assurance at the Ho Technical University, Engineer Dr. Mahwese Nyatuame, in addressing the students said plans are far advanced to introduce a curriculum in nuclear power.
For ACU, what we intend to do as part of the agreement is to build capacity. So we are already been started building a curriculum on nuclear power that is going to be run. We're going to get a foundation course. That's like we run PQ. I know some of you remember PQ. What is PQ? Decision quality. I went through that. We're going to be composing for the second years. So we're doing a foundation course.
The Director, Nuclear Power Institute of Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, Professor Sadebra, assured the general public that the use of nuclear power is safe.
If nuclear, I've worked with the nuclear fraternity for 15 years. So my first assignment as a national service person was at the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, where I did more radiotherapy calculations. Because I'm a physicist, I did more radiotherapy calculations to cure people of cancer. And we use nuclear technologies to do that. You go to the hospital, we use X-rays. It's been something we've been using in this country, even in the industry. You go to the hospitals, everywhere you go, there are applications of nuclear. The only place we've not stepped as a country is power. And it's just a natural progression into power. We've taken all the precautionary measures. We are not doing this in isolation as Ghana. We are doing this in consultation and in partnership with the International Atomic Energy Agency to make sure that we do this and we do this right. Because they are the UN arm that is responsible to make sure that the framework is laid out and countries are actually following the framework. We've already gone through what we call the integrated nuclear infrastructure review missions. The first one and the follow-up for phase 1 of this program actually have 3 phases. So we've already done with phase 1, and we've had very good reviews from the International Atomic Energy Agency and other international bodies that we are working with.
All right, that story and in the marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.